Hello, welcome to a week in my life. This is going to be a busy week. It's also going to be a super realistic week because I have been struggling so much with headaches and neck pain. So I'm going to take you along for all the real, raw, authentic ways that I navigate this. If you are new here, hello, my name is Sarra Cannon. I basically run two businesses. I'm a full-time author and I am a full-time YouTuber and course creator. I have two children, 13 and 6 years old. I have two dedicated team members, part-time team members, and a few people that help me otherwise. So I'm going to share with you how I use my system, the HB90 system, which is a quarterly planning system in my daily, weekly life to get as much done as possible, but also how do I navigate the mental health side of being a creative in a chaotic world. So it has been a few years since I've done a series like this, but it's going to be really fun. And this is episode 1. Okay, our productive week in my life is starting on a Monday. It's already almost 1 p.m. So why are we starting so late? For first things, not every week is going to be your ideal week. And I do think that it is helpful to have an idea of what your ideal week is, but also for your own mental health to know that it's okay. Not every week, and sometimes none of your weeks will be exactly ideal, but to just have your idea of, okay, this is how I would like things to go, gives you a little bit of structure, and it puts some guardrails on, okay, I don't want to work more than this, but this is how I would like to operate. So that being said, typically I do all my planning on Sundays and I rest a little bit more. I spend more time gaming or hanging out with the family. Yesterday was not like that. Yesterday, I launched my HB90 course. I had a Follow Through Fix membership 2-hour live stream. I posted a new video. I worked many hours yesterday and I did not get around to doing my planning because I have just hit a point where I am not going to push myself past a place where I don't feel well anymore. I used to do that in my career and now I just don't do that. If I'm starting to feel like I can't go any further, or I'm starting to feel emotional, or I'm starting to be in pain, I just give it up and let it go. I feel like that's growth, but we'll see if it ends up holding me back long term. But I am going to share with you as realistic of a week as I can. And so we're starting late, behind. And I know that so many of us feel like we're just perpetually behind. Like no matter how much work we do, no matter how hard we hustle, we're always behind. So hit a like on this video if you relate to that. But I really think that part of the reason we always feel behind is because there's always something else or more you can do. And because we have the internet, which is both a blessing and a curse, we see all the possibilities. And so we're always going to be falling short of doing all the possible things in the world. And so we have this feeling of, I'm not doing enough. What I'm doing isn't enough. And when we plan, we often put way more on our plates than we can really do. So there's a mismatch. We have more tasks than we have time and energy. And some reason we're still expecting ourselves to get it all done. And then when we don't, we beat ourselves up or we find out that we're behind because we started out with an unrealistic plan. So I don't have the world's perfect solution to that problem because I do still put too much on my plate. However, these boards behind me are the best way I have ever found. And this has been working for me for about 10 years of my life now. These are Kanban boards and we're going to go over these in a little bit more detail. But first, it's 9 minutes until my mastermind meeting with my business mastermind through Amber McHugh, which many of you know I've been working with her for a long time. So I'm going to go to that mastermind, then I'm going to plan my week, which I typically do on Sundays, but I'll share that with you in just a few minutes. But I basically took the morning off. I got my nails done in a color that is matching my book release for this month, and I'm just getting myself hyped and excited. But if I had stayed up late last night to get my planning done and to record it for you, and then gotten up this morning and gone straight to work, I would just be faking it. And instead, I gave myself the rest that I needed for the rest of last night. I took the morning off and now I am ready Monday afternoon to get started on the week. And sometimes your week will not be ideal, but that doesn't mean that all hope is lost, right? So I will see you after my planning session with my Accelerate Mastermind, and we will get to planning for the week, and I'll show you how I do that in just a few minutes. Accelerate Mastermind is done. So now let's get into how I plan my week. And it almost always starts with a review of my Kanban board. So let me explain what these boards are and how they work in my system. These are my goals, basically, Kanban boards that are a little bit off of how they normally are. If you want to see a full video on how these boards work and what I do with them, I have an entire playlist called Kanban boards. So I will link all of that for you down below. But short and sweet is this. I set 3 goals for the quarter according to how much time and energy I have and according to what I want to accomplish. So I start with an outcome. Like I'll say, oh, I want to make X amount of money, or I want to get this many followers, or I want to have this kind of impact on my life or on my audience. So I start with the goal. Then I choose which projects I can take on that I think is most likely to get me to that goal in the amount of time I have available. So I have a whole system for how I do that, how I quantify that. It's called HB90 Bootcamp. It is open for enrollment right now, but whenever you are watching that, we tend to run it every quarter. So I'd love to have you in there. And you do not have to set up boards like this in order to do the system. You can use Trello or a checklist or pretty much anything you want, but I like visual because the more I can see what tasks need to be done, the more I'm actually going to get them done and stay inspired. Plus I can visually see my progress. I can see how much is left to go. And I can see at all times exactly what projects are on my plate versus the things that come up that I'm comparing myself to. Like I don't get distracted when somebody's like, oh, you should really run a Kickstarter, because I know I don't have time this quarter to do that. However, I could add it to my future ideas parking lot and say, okay, we can look at doing a Kickstarter a different quarter, but for now I have to focus only on these things. And it doesn't have to be limiting. Like I can always say, I changed my mind, I'm not going to do these, I'm going to do that instead. But this at least puts some guardrails around my time and energy so that I don't get super overloaded. Traditional Kanban boards go left to right and are typically how a team sees what's in progress and what's been done and what is yet to do. I like to do them top to bottom just because this makes sense for my space. It looks visually appealing. And when things get to the bottom, they're done. And that just makes sense to me rather than them being on the same level. It just feels like this is the stuff I need to do. So everything on top of this little gold line is my to-do list for the quarter 1 of 2026. Everything in the middle is currently in progress. Everything in the bottom is stuff that is completed. So at the beginning of every single week of the quarter, there's 13 weeks, I will come in and I will first look at this currently working on stuff. And I will say, is there anything here that I got done? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Everything's kind of in progress, but nothing here is absolutely completed. But the next thing that I will do is I will look at all the stuff on top and I'll say, what's next? What can I do this week? And I'll also look at this and say, can I do this week? If not, let's move that back up here. I am going to do this. I probably am not going to do this one, but this one is going to get done. So I'm just reevaluating. So this is my review. And I don't stress if something that I had on my plan can't get done now. Maybe it's just like, you know what, I'm not even going to do this quarter, in which case I'll just pull it off the board. Sometimes I will look at this and I'll say, you know what, I'm going to take on a different project. And so I will make new sticky notes, or I will take one like this and I'll break it into smaller tasks. So in general, these tasks up here represent projects that have been broken down into minor tasks that I can complete in about a day. You can go even more granular than that, so that every single Post-it note is something that you could complete in an hour or a session. But I have so much on my plate that if I break it down into single sessions, I have too many sticky notes on the board. And I've really been struggling with that for about the last year. So this quarter, I'm trying something different, and I put bigger projects up here. Like this is writing A Throne of Thorns. I broke it down into episodes. I'm not going to be able to finish an episode in an hour, but I might be able to finish it in a day or two. So I used to put every 500 words on one of these, but now I just make them bigger. Then I break them down even further on this little beauty right here, which is a desktop Kanban board to do, doing, and done. And I put them on little tiny page flags or smaller post-it notes on my desk. Or for some things, I just break it down into a checklist in my planner, which you'll see as we keep going. But basically, I'm going to look through this and I'm going to say, what else can I get done? So coffee chat this Friday, that's coming up for the week. I do need to create my newsletter plan this week, has to get done. But I don't have to do this. Socials will get done. I have one for each week of socials, so I don't put every single Instagram post I'm going to make, but I will just have a reminder that I need to be posting on social media. I also need to post a few things to my Broken Chapter Society. And I think looking at this, the only other thing is edits on A Mirror of Shadows. I'm about to 50K, so that should be pretty easy to finish this week. Everything else will wait until later, but now I can see before I even start planning exactly what needs to get done here. Then we go to goal number 2. So goal number 1, if I didn't say, was writing goal. Goal number 2 is my Heart Breathings coaching courses goals. So I'll look and say, okay, what's gotten done? So HB90 got launched. That is open for enrollment. That is done. The letter planners for Q2 are finished as well. And Module 5 Q&A is coming up this weekend. I'm still working on my website revamp, but I did do this 2-hour live stream for the follow through fix, which is my accountability mastermind, yesterday. I sent out affiliate emails that went out yesterday. So that is all finished. These things still in progress. This will get done today. The rest of these will get done throughout the week. So then I will just look and say, okay, I'm currently making a YouTube video. So that comes down. Then I just finished my Accelerate meeting. Sometimes these are hard to get off. So that just moves straight down. Anything else? So I know I'll be posting on Instagram this week. That comes down. And I think that is all that I have this week to absolutely work on. So there's my goal number 2. And if as I'm going through this and I'm looking at all the stuff I need to do, I say, oh, I forgot about this project. I'm not going to have time to do all of this. I can come over here and say, you know what? This is something that I just can't do this week. And I would move it somewhere. This visual representation of how much work I have to get done has been such a game changer for me. And I highly recommend it if you're a visual person or you often overload your plate and then later are like, where did all my time go? I did Jazzercise. I have not done this. This is a book that I want to listen to. I have not posted to Substack. I don't know if that's going to happen. I did finish reading this book, What Happened to Lucy Vale. Some of these things I don't think I'm going to get to this week. So this third goal is kind of my, I would say, sort of like a personal goal. Sometimes I can't do these things with my nails because they're too thick. But this is systems, admin stuff. It's kind of a catch-all goal for me. So it has my Substack in here, but it also has some meditation and exercise and things like that. So I don't really worry too much about these things. But we did, some of our hosts for HB Writing Community have started going live. So that is completed. What else? Asana Project Phoenix I have in both places. Asana Content Calendar, I'm probably not going to get to that, but I will go to Jazzercise a couple times this week. At least once. We'll just put one. We'll just put one up there. Okay, so I have just a few minor things to do here, and the bigger tasks are over here. And so that is the beginning of my planning for the week. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down with my planner and I'm going to look at an estimate of how much time I think these things will take. And I'm going to plan out an ideal schedule of when I would like to work on these things. Understanding right from the start mentally that it's okay if I don't get everything done. And 2, life is going to happen. You never know when you're going to have a sick kid or you're going to have a headache or whatever. So I don't put any pressure on myself that these things have to get done. Some things have deadlines, like the planners need to get done. I have to show up for this Q&A. So I will make note of the things that have to get done. and the things that are more flexible. And the other thing I will do is make note of what things are really going to move the needle that are high energy tasks and which are low energy tasks. So I can take advantage of the times when I'm feeling good. But overall, I am always thinking about my mental health and my energy and saying, reassuring myself, I guess, essentially, and saying, you know what, it's okay if all this doesn't get done. It's okay. And if I needed to for my mental health, I could say, you know what, I don't know that I'm going to get to book 2 this quarter. And I could just take that whole project off, put it in a drawer. And now the load feels lighter and I've moved that project to next quarter. And I do that kind of stuff all the time. So this is a super, super flexible system, but also kicks butt because I get a lot of stuff done and I hit my goals. So for example, one of my goals for this, it's not on the board, but these are the projects that I was hoping would move me to that goal, was to hit 82,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I did today. Yay. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. If you haven't, but you've watched my videos or you're discovering us for the first time, please hit that subscribe button and help me hit my goals. I'm only 18,000 away from the play button. And y'all, that would just be so fun. So let's make that happen. But the tasks that I've done posting these videos helped me achieve that goal. And the end goal, really, the reason I'm doing all of this is because I know my long-term goals. And I know that as long as I do these things and I follow through on them, I will reach my goals. It might not be this quarter, but I know these are the activities that are going to move the needle, that are going to help me see my dreams come true. Then I can eliminate so many distractions because I know this is all I have to do. And as long as this is moving the needle, then I don't have to pull anything else out. This is all I need to do. And it helps me stay on track. It helps me reduce my stress. And then I actually physically see the result of my efforts. Like, I posted these videos, I got it done. It's down here, proof. And I hit 82,000 subscribers, which means the work I'm doing is working. And that makes all the difference. So hopefully that kind of explains the system. Now let's plan for the week. Okay, let's get into the HB90 planner. So this planner is something that I created because I was struggling to use weekly planners, because you just have that 1 week on 2 pages. And anytime I would get to like Tuesday or Wednesday, my week would already be off. And I'd either need to pull out something different to plan the rest of the week, or I would be lost. And so I wanted a system that felt more flexible. So I plan in 3 stages. Stage 1 is this weekly task dashboard, where I personally use that right-hand notes section to mark out any meetings or things that have a specific time that I need to be at, because I am an entrepreneur and I'm very lucky that I have control over my own time, but that also means I need to really keep an eye on this. And I am a very out of sight, out of mind person. So if I don't have it in my planner or in a million places, like also in my Google Calendar and things like that, I will miss appointments. And so I keep it here front and center first. I also want to make sure I understand how much things I have to do throughout the week that are actual timed appointments. Then on that left side where it says tasks, you can see I've already made the first column. So I have 3 columns here, 1, 2, and 3, and each column is for a goal. So like on my Kanban boards, goal number 1 is my writing goal. So I've written out everything I would like to or need to get done this week. So this is my ideal task list. And I start with the task list because if I go ahead and start planning things out in the weekly spread, I'm going to miss things, or it's not going to be the most strategic order of things. Or if I get off on my week because I have a bad day or I don't feel good one day, then I can tend to miss things because something that was on Monday, I'm not looking at that on Wednesday. So this way I have a clear, strategic list of all the tasks that I have to do. So I organize them by goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. And these are essentially the same things that I've got on the Kanban board, but sometimes just a little bit more detailed, a little bit more granular in the tasks. Then I also have a task block version of my planner. So in the HB90 system, we you can either do task blocks or not. It's totally flexible and up to you. But task blocks are basically Pomodoro planning. So one task block is a 30-minute segment of time. And this has been a really powerful tool for me because I can say, how long do I think this task is going to take versus how much time do I have? And even if I don't track my time throughout the week, this becomes a boundary line where I can say, well, even on a good estimate, I've got 100 hours worth of work on my plate. I'm not going to be able to do that. So it helps me stay realistic. And a lot of times I go through this piece of the weekly plan and I have to take things off my list, or I have to mark things and say, okay, this is not realistic. But as someone who consistently puts more on my plate than I have time for, this has been a game changer. If you don't like the task blocks, there is a version of the planner called the Notes Planner, and that just has a notes section here instead of the time blocking. But you can see here I have 100 task blocks this week, which is 50 hours of work. And you'll see at the end of the week, I don't actually end up doing 50 hours of work. I end up doing 40 hours of work. And that is pretty typical for me in a week that I always overestimate. But you will be able to see at the end of the week how much of this I got done. Then we turn the page and you can see that we have a week on 2 pages spread. So in the left side, I always mark my work in progress, which is currently A Mirror of Shadows. I'm trying to finish up edit so I can get that book up for pre-order. These columns have really light dot grid on them, so I like to just take a ruler sometimes and section out that top part so that I can call attention to specific things in my day. So the top part tends to be my exercise. The middle part, I will often put my writing goal for the day. And then on that third little box, I will put any appointments or meetings, podcast interviews, things like that have to get done. Then I take everything that's in my brain from the task list that I just made, as well as that list of things that have to get done at a specific time, like gymnastics at this time, I've got a meeting at this time. I will go out and plan a lot of that stuff and put it in the calendar so I can visually see. Again, I am a super visual person, so the more I can see how my week is going to look visually, where do I have space? Where do I have a little bit more time? Where am I completely packed and I need to be aware of my energy? It's super, super helpful for me. But because I already have a list of all the tasks that need to get done, I can naturally start going through and saying, okay, what really needs to be done? You'll see sometimes I'm also going back to look at my March calendar and say, oh, is there anything on there that had to get done on a deadline that I didn't take into consideration? And when I see that I've got a big chunk of time available, like I know I'm going to have a 3-hour work block on Wednesday afternoon or something like that, that's when I will make a larger to-do list and try to think through the tasks that need to get done and think, okay, how can I pair low energy tasks with high energy tasks? How can I make sure no one day has only high energy tasks on it? How can I make sure that I'm leaving time for rest and gaming and play and time with the kids and things that I need to do? But this weekly overview is an ideal look at my week. And I don't think I ever have a week where everything turns out exactly like I thought. So that's why I need stage 3 here, which is the daily planning. So that first stage is where I make a clear task list of everything that needs to get done. I compare it to my time so that I make sure I have enough time in the week to get those tasks done and I'm not overloading my plate too much at the beginning of the expectation. The second stage is that week on 2 pages where I plan out when can I ideally get these things done, but I approach it with a mindset of I know it's probably not going to turn out exactly like this. So then I also have a daily page where I've got a section that I can put my schedule. This is also an ideal expectation of myself. On the top 3 lines, I'll often put just things like, oh, don't forget to send in your taxes or make sure you message this person. And then in that bigger right section, I will write out my task list for the day. And so this is where I take some of those tasks and make them even more granular. Like I was saying when we were talking about the Kanban boards, I will write out every small task, like the thumbnail and the editing that I need to do. And sometimes I will color code these. So you've got those 3 Erin Condren markers. The purple is my writing, the pink is heart breathings, the blue is more like admin, so that I can see at a glance. And then I will also, you'll see in a second, go through and estimate about how much time I think each of these will take. Like this will take about 3 task blocks, this will take about 6, and I will put it in a box. And that way I can get another overview of making sure I'm not overloading my day. So I've got boundaries in place to make sure that I'm taking care of my mental health, I'm taking my energy into consideration. And then you'll see as we review the planner later, how I actually go through my day and how this works, not just in theory, but in practice. Hello, everybody. It is 7:20. I had some time to talk to my ops manager, and what else did I do? I made a post for Instagram. I finished my planning, which you saw, and then I went to dinner and sat outside while Andrew played baseball and I played with Evie and we did some chalk stuff. And then I came in while the kids are on screens, and it took me about 30 minutes or so to finish the final A5 planners. So all of the HB90 planners are completed. Woo, and off to the proofreader. Hopefully those will go up on Etsy tomorrow. So the only thing that's really left on my plan for the day is writing. And I have my friend Angela, I think maybe is already live. She goes early sometimes, like I'm a member of her channel. She goes early sometimes when she can, but that is bad for me because I'm in an earlier time zone and I have to get Evie into the bathtub. So I don't think I'll be able to join her for that. And this is the part of the day where I know sometimes my writing is more accessible in the evenings because I can write without interruption, but also sometimes I'm just too tired. And I did have a really big day yesterday. So this is part of where I look at my plan and then I say, do I actually have the energy to get that done? And I try to be radically honest with myself of like, am I just avoiding it because I'm scared that it won't come out or it feels too hard? Or do I just not feel like I can genuinely do it, or that it's going to harm me if I try to do it? And honestly, tonight I feel like I can do it for a little bit, but I don't want to compromise tomorrow. So basically what I'm going to do is I've got my planner sitting here. I'm just going to go ahead and look through, and I'll show you this in a sec, all of the things that I got done, how many task blocks it took, because I like to track my time, and I'll explain that as we go through. And then I'll plan for Tuesday, and then we'll see how far I can get tonight. But I only have about 10 minutes before I need to start running the bath for Evie. And then after that, I am gonna, wait. And I am doing all the nighttime stuff alone because George is hanging out with friends tonight. So I am going to get that done. And then probably like 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'll spend an hour writing. I don't know that I'll get to 45,000 words, but you never know. It's editing, not actual writing. And I only need about 2K words. So I might get there. We'll see. But let's take a look at the planner. At the end of a day, I will typically go through and mark out all the things that did get done. And I didn't even actually put the planners on here because I wasn't 100% certain if it was going to get done. So I'm just going to add it down here, and it's a bonus thing. So finish A5 planners, and I'll get to actually move this down the Kanban board as well, which will feel really good. So I will mark that off. It took me only about 30 minutes because I did most of the work yesterday. So that is one task block. So as I explained in the plan with me, each task block is 30 minutes. So 2 task blocks is an hour. So if I have 100 available task blocks, that's 50 hours. And I know it's a lot of work. And one of the things I want you to remember if you're watching this is just you can't compare yourself to anybody else. I run 2 separate brands that are both full-time. So really I'm only working 25 hours in each one. So I know many of you have full-time jobs, so you don't necessarily have this much time. So don't miss the point of the planning by comparing yourself or feeling overwhelmed by how much time I spend. This is just what my business requires of me. Your business may not require this, or you may not have this to give to it. But the beauty of the HB90 system is that you are in charge of going through. It's not, you don't just make the to-do list in and of itself. You make the to-do list based on the time you have available. So I have 100 task blocks most weeks. You may only have 10. You may not even have 10. You may only have 8, 4 hours a week. And that is still plenty of time to get your writing done and your marketing done. Maybe not time realistically to run two separate businesses where you're posting lots of YouTube videos and lots of content and writing books. So you have to find a way to match your time and energy with the lifestyle and the goals that you want to achieve, and make sure that you're not pushing yourself to a level that is unsustainable for you. And I know I say sometimes that this can be a mourning process, because sometimes we have goals that we really want to hit, but it's just unrealistic with our current lifestyle. And in that case, then you have to change some things about your lifestyle. Maybe work hard focusing on one piece of the income production so that you can afford to go part time at your job. And I don't know what that situation looks like to you. And I know that it can feel like, well, it's easy for you to say blah, blah, blah. But I didn't get here overnight either. Running this business, having this amount of time, and having support to help me has been a 16-year process. And I am grateful for it, but also I know that you can do this too. You can design your life and make it whatever you want. But to me, the easiest way to get there is a planning system like this, whether you use mine or another system that you're aware of. A planning system like this is how you really focus in on, these are the things that are going to move the needle toward my actual dreams, where I'm not wasting time and I'm not spending time on things that don't actually move me forward. They're just busy work. So that's my that's my little speech there. But I am going to go through and say, okay, I got letter planners done. Sometimes I will cross them out too because it just looks better. A5 planners are done. This piece of it is going to be done by my operations manager for the first time. She'll be running through it, so it will take some time and attention from me, but I have already recorded a loom for her on this, so hopefully that'll be good. I did finish the Accelerate call with Amber. And let's see, what else did I get done? Oh my gosh, you guys, Evie's talking to me, so we're going to ignore that. I am currently recording Week in My Life. So that is just, partially done. I did list a short for Monday. I didn't get any of the audiobook stuff done. None of this. I really need to do this March freebie though. I think that's the only technical things that I can actually cross off. And honestly, one of the things I really wanted to do today was to get this Waco retreat edited so that I could post that tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to have the energy to get it done. So instead of being disappointed or upset with myself, I'll just say, okay, well, it'll get done tomorrow. And if it doesn't get edited till next week, it doesn't go up till next week. So it's all good. But then the other piece of what I do here is I have these lines that indicate how much time I'm expecting to spend. So this is my estimates. And if you are not great with estimating time, I know a lot of people with ADHD have time blindness, so you just have no idea how long something is going to take. There are a couple of ways around it. One, you can simply not estimate your time and just say, well, here's the things I want to get done. Let's get as far as we can get done and let that be good enough. But the key there is to not be mad at yourself when something doesn't get done or you change plans, because that's what you've chosen, the way you've chosen to do it. Another way to do it though is to just best guess and say, okay, I'm going to say, let's say 40, and let's see how it goes. And then over the course of time, you compare your estimate to what reality was. If it's a type of project that you just do once and you never do again, it's not going to be super helpful. But these types of projects, like finishing a YouTube video, if you do it every single week, you're going to get pretty good over time at estimating it, not because you just could see it, but because you have the data where you say, well, every week I think it takes 6 task blocks, but it always takes me 10. So once you realize that and you have the data of a few weeks, you can now start estimating that it's going to take you 10. And that is how you begin to estimate your time. But in the beginning, you're not really going to know. And so you'd have to just be okay with not knowing and take a deep breath and say, I'm just going to give it a best guess estimate. And when you are giving it a best guess estimate, another thing that you can do is say, well, I think it's going to take me 6 task blocks, which is 3 hours. And you can double it and say, well, let's say it's going to take 12. And if it takes me less, I have free time to do something else that's really fun. That way you're overestimating. And sometimes what you're going to find is that you say, well, let's just overestimate and say 12. And then you're going to realize, oh my gosh, that took me 15. So, you just plan accordingly and do your best. And the key is just to not let your mental health suffer when you don't fully get on track the way that you thought. Okay, we are on Monday. So the YouTube stuff that I did today took about 3 task blocks you can see, but I didn't get the Waco vlog edited. So we're just going to go here to YouTube and we're going to say 1, 2, 3, and we're going to leave that there. Then we have Mirror of Shadows, didn't work on that yet. Accelerate took 3 task blocks. So we're going to go over here to 1, to other, which is my meetings this week. That took 3. The plan, the shorts. The short took 1. So this is basically, really technically it's YouTube. Where did I even estimate the shorts? I think maybe I added that in later. So we're going to count that as an admin task, even though it's not really admin. It's really social media, which I didn't account for. So sometimes you're going to find like, oh, oops, I didn't really make time for that in my schedule. So we're just going to see how it plays out. I didn't really do any shopping, but I did get my nails done and I did talk to my ops manager. So those things are all done and we are good to go. But tomorrow I'll need to edit the Waco vlog. So as we begin to plan tomorrow, we'll look at that and then we'll see how far I get with this. And then some of that will move on to tomorrow as well. But technically, I have 3, 6, 7 task blocks. And then I also did the A5 planners, which took about 1 task blocks. And so that comes down here to admin or HB90. That one counts in HB90. So that took 1, which I'm looking at this and thinking, well, it's possible since I finished that faster than I thought because I put in work yesterday and just thought maybe it would take me longer. I might actually be done with that. So I might not use all 10 of these, which will be great because of those shorts. So let's go ahead real quick and just plan for Tuesday. Okay, so I have my plan completed for tomorrow based on the best of my ability to guess what's going to be needed. I want to meet with Malia, but I'm realizing we never finalized the time, so I might end up whiting that out. And so I've got to edit my Waco vlog. I think that might take about an hour and a half. It might take longer. We'll see. Mirror of Shadows edits. I'm going to try to dedicate 3 full hours to this tomorrow. I don't know when that will happen, and that's okay. Just need to find time for it. Then I have a bunch of BCS tasks. That is my membership, the Broken Chapter Society. And so I've got some things I want to do for them, and I want to work on some audiobook things. So all in all, 5, 11, 14, 7 hours of work tomorrow, and then plus the Zoom call. So maybe 8 hours or so of work. And that's a pretty heavy day of work. So we'll see if I feel like doing all of it. We'll see what gets pushed to the side. But at least I have a little bit of control over what I think I'm going to be working on tomorrow. So that is how I start my week. That's how I plan. That's how I settle what's going to happen. And again, please don't compare yourself to the amount of work I'm doing. Instead, what my hope is for you is to see how the process works. And you can do this with any workload, whether your workload is more than mine or way less than mine, or you're doing this for maybe you have one goal that's for your day job, one goal that's for your PhD, and another goal that's for getting your house in order. You can literally use this for any system that you want. And you don't have to use the HB90 planner. You can use any planner that works for you, or a bullet journal or a Trello or Notion or anything, but it's really the system that becomes super powerful. So I hope that you enjoyed this day 1. So that is episode 1 of my productive week in my life. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We are going to move on. The next episode will be posted in a couple of days. Today actually was a huge success. I feel really good about how today went. I felt good throughout the day. I am so glad I slept in a little bit and I took care of myself this morning, tried to stay hydrated because I think it really helped after a really tough work day yesterday. But the moon is basically full and there's an eclipse tomorrow morning. So I'm set my alarm for 5:30. We'll see if I'm actually able to get up and how it affects the rest of the day. But I will be back in a couple of days and you can watch how the next few days went in my planning. I hope you found this useful and helpful. If you have any questions about the HB90 bootcamp or the system that I use, please feel free to pop those in the comments down below. The HB90 bootcamp is open for enrollment right now, and I'm telling you, I have put my whole heart and soul into this system because I know what it feels like to be totally stuck, to feel overwhelmed, and to feel like you know you're capable of making your dreams come true and you just can't figure out how to move forward, whether it's mental health or chronic illness or any number of things that are holding you back. I would love to support you and help guide you through actually making your dreams come true. So enrollment is open now, or whenever you're watching this, if you want to sign up for the wait list or anything down below, I would love to have you in there. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you in the next episode, and we'll keep trucking with a productive week in my life. All right, love you guys. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.